What is going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and I am here to do my breakdown and analysis of the Dolphins' first game against the New England Patriots. So I'm just going to dive right into it. I've been working hard to try and get a format here for my breakdowns that's concise, so that way I can keep it, short as possible, but while also giving you a ton of information. And a lot of it's, it's pretty close to how I was doing it last year, but hopefully it'll keep things a little bit more tight-knit. So let's get into this. Obviously, the Dolphins did not win the game. Going into every game, obviously, I hope that we win. I'm rooting for us to win, but if I'm being honest, I did not expect us to win. Now, there are a lot of factors, obviously, that go into it, but, I don't think that this team... I mean, as you guys know, I don't think that they're headed in the right direction. I don't think they're building properly, etc. But even aside from all of that, with the messed up off season and the fact that, this team is super young and inexperienced still, nothing but backups, blah, 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 what have you, new coaching staff, new playbooks, all of that. I wasn't really expecting much. Having said that, they actually played all right in some spurts, especially at the beginning, and there were some good things in there. There were some flashes, there were some, moments for optimism, but there's also still a lot of concerns. But anyway, so let's go ahead and just get into the raw numbers here, and then we'll actually get to a little bit more of the analysis in a bit. So obviously the Dolphins dropped to 0-1 on the season, and the Patriots moved to 1-0 on the season. They beat us 21-11. So, by the score, it wasn't, it was only by 10 points. They didn't score any massive amount of, points or whatever. But it is also fair to note that the Patriots are a very different team this year. They still have Bill Belichick, and I expect them to, perform well overall. If I'm being honest, my guess for the division is probably going to be Bills, Patriots, Jets, Dolphins. I think that's how it's going to shake out. If people dislike me because that's the way I see it right now, well, okay, I guess. I don't want it to be that way. I hope that we can make it to the, top of the division and win a championship, etc. I just don't find that to be realistic. And so I'm not going to, I'll tell you I'll hope for it, but I'm going to be realistic about you. And that's where my commentary thread is going to be based in. So, but they are a totally different team. They were one of the hardest hit teams when it comes to opt-outs and players, leaving to go to another team and free agency. So particularly on their defense. So they are way different on their defense. And, they don't have Tom Brady anymore. Cam Newton's there. He's got to get used to things. Like, we'll talk about that in a little bit more in depth, because the Patriots were actually pretty... They played solid ball pretty much the entire time. Like, we stayed in this game. Honestly, it was a little bit closer than what I think it should have been, because we did have some things break our way, and then, in between that, or we had a couple things break our way in between some solid play from the team. Anyway, like I said, let's get into these numbers. Let's see. So we had 269 total yards to their 357. Obviously, we definitely want to put up more yardage. We want to be able to move the ball better. Only 182 passing yards. Generally, I like to say that my baseline is break 200 passing yards and 100 rushing yards. And that's a solid game as far as production goes, yardage-wise, right? That's where you want to shoot for. If you're looking for... stats is a baseline way to evaluate. But we didn't quite make it there. But to be fair, neither did the Patriots. They had 140 passing yards in total at the end of the day when it all calculated. Somehow, Cam Newton had 155 yards, but they ended up with 140. So somehow I guess they lost 15 yards. I don't think that we had that much lost yardage for them. But whatever. Anyway. I don't know how NFL.com calculated. That's just what they had. So, but when it came to rushing, right, we had 87 yards. So to be fair, we were actually kind of close to those numbers, those thresholds in our first game. So there is some room for optimism there. But we didn't break it. We only had 87. On the other hand, we gave up 217 yards on the ground defensively, which is not good. Honestly, I thought that overall the production on the field and the product that we saw was about what I expected. What I didn't expect was I actually expected the defense to be the one that was a little bit stronger and the offense to be the side that was, holding us back. Now, there was plenty of fault on the offense, which we'll get to, but really the defense struggled more. And that's actually really concerning the longer we go down the stretch. And 217 yards was the most so far that any team has given up. Anyway, so that's not good. And we'll break that down a little bit more in a minute. We only had 4.6 yards per play to their 5.7. Obviously, we would want to do better there. They did have one fumble, which I'll get to in more detail because we kind of got lucky on that one, honestly. And that's part of what I was saying with the luck. But we'll break that down in a minute. And we did throw 3 interceptions. Fitzpatrick threw 3 interceptions. Let's see, third downs, we were 36% to their 50. Obviously, we want to be, a bit higher than that. We probably want to average at least somewhere around 50%, if not higher, at least. I mean, at least to show improvement, because 36%, we were stuck there a lot last year, and that's not anywhere near good enough. They had the ball for 34 minutes and 49 seconds to our 25-11. So obviously, you'd rather see that flipped. We only had 4 penalties and they only had 3. So overall penalties were low, but I'll give you some more nuance on those penalties as we go on. But we'll see. And that's going to be an important thing to keep an eye on. Are they able to, as a team overall, consistently keep the penalties down? Now, the penalties that they did get were pretty significant. Pretty much all the penalties that were on the field were pretty significant and impacted the game significantly. A lot of the calls, though, were not very good. But anyway, like I said, I'll get into some nuance in the individual calls once I get deeper into the breakdown. Passing, Ryan Fitzpatrick was 20 of 30, 66.7% completion percentage. Obviously not very good for 191 yards. No touchdowns to his 3 interceptions and a 44.6 passer rating. Obviously, there's already starting, talk and rumors about, when is it time to, play Tua? Like I said, guys, honestly, he's ultimately, my guess, going to end up in the game at some point this year because Fitzpatrick either gets injured, and he took a couple, pretty hard shots in this game, or because he plays like shit. And he threw 3 interceptions in the first game. And for sure, I would say at least 2 of them he could have fucking avoided. Anyway, but on the other hand, Cam Newton was 15 of 19, 78.9% completion percentage, 155 yards, no touchdowns, but no interceptions, with a 100.7 passer rating. So obviously far more efficient. Now, he contributed a lot to the running game as well, which we will get to in a second. And so overall, Cam Newton was very, very efficient in their offense. Rushing, Myles Gaskin led the way for us, 9 rushes, 40 yards, and a 4.4 average. Matt Breida had 5 rushes, 22 yards, and a 4.4 average. Fitzpatrick threw in 5 rushes for 18 yards and a 3.6 average. And Jordan Howard had 8 rushes for 7 yards, 1 touchdown, and a 0.9 average. Now, a lot of people are talking about that situation, and Jordan Howard, is listed as the starting back, but look, Myles Gaskin, I saw the headline to TD Phins Talks, a video he just posted, whatever, TD Phins Talk. Anyway, TD's channel, and it's in the title it said something about the Dolphins have a new lead back or something like that. Dude, not necessarily. I mean, it's very circumstantial. First of all, it's just one game, but secondly, it's very circumstantial, so it could change, right? But To be fair, though, Myles Gaskin did have the hot hand, right? He did perform a lot better. Jordan Howard had the first couple series and did not perform very well. And then, you know, it started being a mix of some of the other guys. Although it's also reasonable to expect that throughout the season, in pretty much every game, we'll probably see, you know, a mix of, you know, several of these guys. So that's just likely how it's going to be. But overall, you know, it was okay in the first game, the running game, but it definitely could be better. And I'm going to keep it real. The offensive line overall in the first half in particular played a bit better than I expected. The important thing we'll be able to see is, can they be consistent and can they improve? Also, it's notable that with the Patriots, not only was their defense drastically different. I mean, they lost Jamie Collins. They lost Dante Hightower, right, to opt-outs. They lost Kyle Van Noy to Landon Roberts, right? They lost Patrick Chung. So many key guys on their defense, right? But not just that. You know, their defensive line, and a lot because of that, their defensive line in their front seven is not as, you know, potent as it used to be. Like next week, for example, I expect our offensive line to have a bit more of a challenge from the Bills' defensive line than we got from the Patriots, and so we'll see how they fare with that challenge. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. But they did surprise me and performed a bit better than I had expected. But they definitely still have a lot of room for improvement. Let's see. Cam Newton led the way for them. 15 rushes, 75 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 5 average. That is super concerning because, again, I mean, like next week we have Josh Allen, who's a mobile running quarterback and who I expect to run on us. I expect that they will utilize his legs, or even when he has to scramble, he can break for some decent runs. So that's concerning. But then again, of course, they also got over 200 yards on the ground on us in our first game, which is definitely concerning. And I watched a little bit of Dudley Do-Wrong's video. I had to turn it off because he just literally does not live in the same world. Like, the way he described some of the penalties was ridiculous. Like, he just didn't see it the same way at all. And like, but it's undeniable because you can replay it in slow motion, in fact. Anyway, we'll get into that in a minute. But also because he made it seem like, you know, we actually did all right in the run game overall, because even though, you know, Cam Newton led the way with 75 yards, none of the other backs really did much of anything. Okay, well, let's see. Sony Michel had 10 rushes, 37 yards, and a touchdown. So they had, another and an actual running back, another runner and an actual running back get a touchdown, not just Cam Newton. 37 yards on top of that, 3.7 average. Okay, whatever. But Rex Burkhead, 7, 32, 4.6. J.J. Taylor, 4, 28, 7 average. Julian Edelman, 1 run for 23 yards, obviously an average of 23. James White, 5 for 22 and 4.4. It doesn't matter that one back didn't do, like, you know, 100 plus, 150, 200 yards on us. They racked up 200 yards on us altogether, spreading the ball around. That's actually more concerning. Well, I guess it not necessarily, because it's dependent on the team you play and it's situational and stuff. But either way, it's not good because they ran for over 200 yards on us and they allowed a quarterback, and there are a lot of them in the league. I mean, we're going to have to play the Chiefs this year, Patrick Mahomes, right? So there's going to be like, dude, it's not good. We have to play the Bills twice. We're going to have to play Cam Newton again. So look, it's not good. There's definitely a lot that they need to improve on. Let's see. So receiving, Devontae Parker led the way for us, 4 of 4 for 47 yards. Preston Williams, 2 of 7, 41 yards. Mike Gesicki, 3 of 5 for 30 yards. Myles Gaskin, 4 of 4 for 26 yards. Let's see. Jakeem Grant, 3 of 4 for 25 yards. Isaiah Ford, 2 of 4 for 13 yards. So, you know, look, our receivers, especially because, I guess I could just talk about this right now. Devontae Parker, you know, came out, like, he only played in the first half of the game because he came out with that hamstring injury that he, was dealing with in training camp. And that's concerning, not only because like all of our top wide receivers have injury histories and so on and so forth, but then when you lose him, I mean, one of the commentators in the game, or no, I'm sorry, I think it was an article I read. Some writer, I think it was Alan Pupar, in fact, was saying that, the Dolphins receivers don't really scare people to begin with, other teams to begin with. So, then you lose Devontae Parker, and I told you guys going into it, with him, already injured, and Xavier Howard already nursing some stuff, especially with his knee, like, that's concerning. So, anyway, our wide receivers, that's going to be something to keep an eye on, and if they can stay healthy, and if they can continue to produce, and if they can up their level of production, because we definitely need them to. But we'll see if, Parker's available for the game against the Bills. We don't know yet. We'll have to monitor that over the course of the week. Let's see. Okay, for them, Julian Edelman led the way, 5 of 7, 57 yards. N'Keal Harry, 5 of 6, 39 yards. James White, 3 of 3 for 30 yards. Ryan Izzo, 1 of 2 for 25 yards. Fitzpatrick had a fumble. It was a low snap. He picked it up and managed it fine, but it counts as a fumble, I guess, whatever. Demir Bird had one on their side. It was on a punt, I believe, muffed punt, but they got it back. J.C. Jackson picked it up. N'Keal Harry had a fumble and lost the fumble. I'll talk about that more in depth in a minute when I get into the actual play-by-play. All right, defensive statistics. Jerome Baker led the way, 13 solo and 3 assisted tackles, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. Brandon Jones, 7 solo, 3 assisted tackles. Christian Wilkins, 5 solo, 1 assisted, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, and 2 pass defense. Christian Wilkins did have a solid day for his first game. He kind of disappeared in the second half, and some of his, stats are a little bit... like one of the sacks, or the sack that he tackled, or that he tallied, whatever, is like, it was a cleanup sack. Like, I'll explain more when I get there, because there's a little bit of nuance to it. But anyway, he definitely had a solid day overall, and he was definitely a bright spot, and showed that maybe he can improve upon his draft class, right? And help his draft class take the next step and not be as bad as they were in year one. So hopefully that he continues to show production like he did in the first half of the game with the Patriots. Kyle Van Noy had 5 solo tackles and a tackle for loss. Bobby McCain, 4 solo, 1 assisted. Eric Rowe, 3 solo, 2 assisted. Landon Roberts, 3 solo, 1 assisted, and a tackle for loss. Devon Godshaw, 3 solo tackles and a tackle for loss. And Jamal Perry with 3 solo tackles. Adrian Phillips led the way for them, 8 solo, 1 assisted, 1 tackle for loss, 1 interception for 5 yards, and a pass defense. Chase Winovich, 4 solo tackles, 2 assisted, 1 tackle for loss. Stephon Gilmore, 4 solo, 1 assisted, 1 interception for 15 yards, and a pass defense. Juwan Bentley, 3 solo, 2 assisted. Terrence Brooks, 3 solo, 2 assisted. Devin McCourty, 3 solo, 2 assisted. Lawrence Guy, 3 solo, 1 assisted. John Simon, 2 solo, 2 assisted, and a tackle for loss. J.C. Jackson, 2 solo with an interception and 2 pass defense. Joe Juan Williams, 2 solo tackles and a pass defense. Brandon Copeland, 1 solo, 2 assisted, and a tackle for loss. And Derek Rivers, 1 solo, 1 sack, and a tackle for loss. In the kicking game, Jason Sanders had his 1 field goal attempt, which he made for 46 yards. Nick Folk missed his 1 field goal but made his 3 extra points. Matt Hawk had 3 punts for 50.7 average, none inside the 20 but along a 58. And Jake Bailey, 3 punts for a 39.7 average, 3 inside the 20 and along a 55. So just real quick, let's note that when you look at that, obviously Matt Hawk had the better average, had the longer punt. With the, the longest one they had, he had a 58, Jake Bailey had a 55, but Jake Bailey landed 3 inside the 20. So what that tells you is that the Dolphins were generally back further on their side of the field when they had to punt, whereas the Patriots, the 3 times that they had to punt, they were either, closer to midfield or even on our side of the field. No kickoff returns, and in the punt game, Jakeem Grant had 1. He ended up losing 3 yards on it, and Damiere Byrd had 1 but didn't gain anything. So into the key points and analysis of this game. The most important thing, obviously, is we did not win. And like I said, the Dolphins showed a bit more life, certainly, and performed a bit better, particularly on the offensive line, than I would have expected, especially considering all the different factors going into it. But they definitely still have a lot of improvement to make, and next week is going to be a very tough challenge. So, you know, just after this one game, I'm trying to reserve my projections for the rest of the season, because it's just the one game, and the Patriots are, you know, a very new look team, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to get a couple games before I, you know, start making any more like firm, this is how I think the Dolphins are going to perform throughout the entirety of the season, realistically. My general idea going into it is that, and even after this first game, and, you know, just perusing real quick through the schedule, I really only see maybe 4 or 5 wins as of right now for them. So, you know, let's see how it goes next week. Let's see how they do against a Bills team that's looking like they're going to be really tough this year, and I think they're going to take the division. All right, let's get through this game breakdown. The Dolphins started with the ball. The Patriots won the toss and decided to defer. The Dolphins went 3 and out on their first offensive drive. It was 2 runs with Howard for a total of 7 yards, 1 of 4, 1 of 3. Then a 2-yard catch to Parker that he caught it short of the sticks and then got tackled short of the sticks, so they ended up punting. The Patriots then get the ball and they punted after 8 plays. It was a 7-yard run to Sony Michel, 10-yard run by Newton, and then a 5-yard run by Newton, so 15 in total. Then 6 yards to Michel on 2 runs. Then on the very next play, it was a 1st down and 10 at the New England 48, 9:49 left to go in the first quarter, and it was an incomplete pass to Edelman. It was a pretty long pass downfield, probably would have picked them up about 15-20 yards. This was the first, like, big thing that happened in the game, because the Patriots were moving down the field. They were doing pretty well, and this was like the first mistake they made. It was mostly on Bobby McCain, was definitely in good coverage, but it was mostly on Julian Edelman. He went to turn to move upfield before really securing the ball. So but it was definitely, again, good coverage on Bobby McCain. He was there to take advantage of that and knock the ball loose. Then it was a 9-yard sack by Baker on Newton. The commentary mentioned this, and it's definitely true, and something that we realistically will not be able to rely on the next time that we play the Patriots, right? So what am I talking about? So on this play, Cam Newton, and the commentary mentioned, and it was Tony Romo because he's a quarterback and he was one of the commentators, but he mentioned that in this play, Cam Newton actually should have checked out of it because they were pulling the left guard over to the right, which left a hole that Baker came through pretty clean. And so he should have checked to a different play so that way he could account for the rushing linebacker that was coming. He didn't notice it, etc. But that's not something that we'll be able to rely on. We're not going to be able to rely on that kind of mistake later on in the year from Cam Newton as a veteran quarterback after he gets a lot more comfortable in that Bill Belichick system, or that McDaniels system, rather. Anyway, so I just wanted to point that out. And then it was a 10-yard catch to White before they ended up punting. Let's see, because they obviously, 9 yards back, even the 10 yards, it wasn't enough to get them a first down. Then we get the ball back. Dolphins ended up having to punt after 7 plays. First starting with a 12-yard catch to Parker, then a 2-yard run to Howard. Then the next play was the low snap where Fitz, fumbled the ball, but he picks it up, gets it out to the flat to Patrick Laird for a 6-yard catch. Then Gaskin on a 13-yard catch, a 1-yard run to Howard, followed by a 3-yard loss on a run by Howard, followed by an incomplete pass to Ford before we ended up having to punt. Then the Patriots get the ball. They take the rest of the quarter. They end the first quarter after 7 plays. It was 9 yards on 2 runs to Burkhead, 2-yard run to Michelle, then a 25-yard catch to the tight end Izzo, followed by a 15-yard run by Burkhead, and then a 1-yard loss on a run by Burkhead with Godshaw on the tackle. So good penetration there by him. And obviously you guys know I really like Godshaw, and he's, you know, historically in his time with us has done good things, dating back to obviously Gase picked him, and he was another one of those Gase picks. I really loved Gase's drafts. They were wonderful, and I thought it was a shame that we let him go before he had a chance to make that into a masterpiece. Anyway, little side note there. And then the quarter ended with a N'Keal Harry catch for 6 yards. Then they start the second quarter. The Patriots start the second quarter. They did get a touchdown to finish that drive. It was a 7-yard run by Newton with a 6-yard catch following that by Edelman, then a 7-yard run from White, and then a 4-yard touchdown run by Newton with the Folk extra point to follow. On the very next drive for the Dolphins, Fitzpatrick got his first interception after 4 plays. It started out positive with a 14-yard catch to Parker, then a 1-yard loss on a catch. I believe it was a screen pass to Gaskin, then an incomplete pass to Williams, and then disaster struck. Now it was, you know, a couple things. I mean, it was Gilmore intercepted the pass, and he's obviously a great quarterback and, you know, a ball hawk, etc. But it was kind of unfortunate because it was a pass to Preston Williams. It was 3rd and 11 at the Miami 38 with 11:47 in the second quarter. Fitzpatrick went to, you know, pass to Preston Williams. Unfortunately, he slipped, you know, coming out of the break of his route, and, you know, Gilmore was there. He had his eyes on the ball. He got it, and, you know, that was that. Fortunately, though, we did manage to force the Patriots into a 3-and-out after that, so the defense, you know, stood tough and managed to get the ball back. You know, they had a 3-yard run by Michelle, a 1-yard run by White, and then Newton was sacked by Wilkins for 6 yards. This was the sack, though, that I was talking about. That was just kind of like a cleanup because Newton went to, like, scramble, right? So there was some decent breakdown of the pocket, right? And then Newton goes to scramble. He goes to scramble to the right, but then he just, like, slides down. You know, there were some defenders there. They were being blocked. He could have gotten around them, or, you know, he could have at least thrown the ball away, something. So he definitely could have done more. He should have thrown the ball away at a minimum and didn't. He just, like, if he thought that he didn't have any way to get out, he should have thrown the ball away. So that's why I said that was on Newton. But good for Wilkins for getting there. You know, he gets the sack. So good for him. But he needs to show he can do that more. He actually did get another one later. I'm not sure why the official stats say he only had one, but the second one was actually really solid. Like, he just broke through the line and got the sack. So that was great. We want to see more of that. But it's also good to be there in the event that something like that happens, you know, because you can take advantage of it. Anyway, so then they go to punt. They had to delay a game. Before they did so, they kick us the ball. Dolphins get the ball, and after 9 plays, we kicked a field goal to give us 3 points. It was 10 yards on 2 runs to Gaskin, and then an 18-yard catch to Parker, followed by a 5-yard Gaskin run, then a 6-yard Breida run with a 20-yard catch to Preston Williams, no gain run by Breida, then an incomplete pass to Williams before Sanders kicked his 46-yard field goal. Then on the next drive, the defense stood tough again, forced another 3-and-out. It was an incomplete pass to N'Keal Harry, and then a 4-yard run to Taylor, and a 5-yard run to White before they punted. Then, of course, Ryan Fitzpatrick comes in and finds a way to fuck it up royally. This one was the one that was 100% totally on Ryan Fitzpatrick. But after 9 plays, he gets intercepted. Starts off with 2 runs of 18 yards to Gaskin. After the first run of 8 yards, the 2-minute warning sounded. Then he gets another one for 10. Then an incomplete pass to Williams. Then it was another 14 yards over 2 runs. 14 yards on 2 catches to Gaskin. The first one was 15 yards, and then he lost a yard on the next one. Then a 9-yard catch to Gesicki, an 8-yard run on to Breida. But on this play, on this drive, Eric Flowers gets a holding penalty that brought us back 10 yards from the spot. It ended up being like a 3rd and 5, I think, something like that. So it wasn't terrible, and Grant bailed him out on the very next play by getting a 7-yard reception. And then there was a timeout called by the Dolphins with 37 seconds left to go, because obviously the half is about to, expire, and they want to try and make sure that they get points, right? Well, on 1st and 10 at the New England 47, with 7 seconds left to go in the half, Fitzpatrick was intercepted by Adrian Phillips on a pass to Grant. He was the linebacker, but Grant was nowhere near it, right? He technically was the intended receiver, but Grant's in no way, at fault. Couldn't do anything about it because Fitz just literally airmailed it straight to the linebacker that was right in the middle of the field. So totally his fuck up. And it just is what it is. But anyway, the Patriots then get the ball back, and they attempt to kick a field goal after 6 plays. There was a 9-yard catch by White, followed by a timeout with 25 seconds left to go. Then a 16-yard catch to Edelman, followed by the second sack that I was telling you about from Wilkins, 2 yards on Newton, followed by a timeout with 15 seconds left to go. Incomplete pass to the tight end Izzo with a 6-yard run to Burkhead following that, and then a timeout at 6 seconds. And then they attempted a 45-yard field goal, which they missed wide right. Dolphins then kneel the ball to finish out the half. Patriots come back. Obviously, they get it to start the half. They did score a touchdown after 8 plays. 26 yards on 2 plays to Edelman. 2 catches, 1 of 10, 1 of 16. And then an 11-yard catch to White, a 5-yard run to Michelle, 9-yard catch to Edelman, 6-yard run to Newton, 7-yard run to Michelle, followed by Newton's 11-yard touchdown run, and then Folk's extra point. Dolphins go 3 and out on the next drive, a 2-yard Gaskin run, a 3-yard Laird catch, and then an incomplete pass to Gesicki before a punt. Next drive, the Patriots honestly should have gotten a touchdown on this drive, but we got lucky here. And so I'll explain when we get to that portion, but it was a fumble technically after 13 plays, a 1-yard Michelle run, 13 N'Keal Harry catch, 4-yard Taylor catch, followed by 17 yards on 2 runs by Taylor, then a 5-yard catch to Harry, 2-yard run to White, 11-yard run to Taylor, 2-yard run to Newton, 6-yard catch to Harry, 2-yard run to Newton. Newton ran it for 2 yards. Incomplete pass to Julian Edelman on the next play. But then, unfortunately, the rookie safety, Brandon Jones, got a roughing the passer penalty. Now, it didn't really matter because the Patriots were moving the ball, and the penalty, didn't really get us that much further at this point anyway. They were pretty far into our side of the field, but I will say that it was a pretty ticky-tack call. In the future, he should probably try to aim a little bit lower, but when you watch the replay, he didn't make any helmet-to-helmet contact. His helmet, it looked like he was, going towards Cam Newton's head, especially in the bang-bang moments of it, so it's not unreasonable that they called it on the field. But, upon further review, it was pretty clear, I think, that he didn't, because he didn't actually make any contact with Cam Newton's head, and all he did was push Newton here in his shoulders. Whatever, but like I said, it didn't even end up mattering, because they got on the very next play with the next pass, well, first of all, like I said, they were moving the ball pretty well. Anyway, particularly in the second half, their offense started to really click. And then they did get down to the goal line on the very next play on a 9-yard catch to N'Keal Harry. But we lucked out because, Jerome Baker got over there. He didn't secure the ball well enough. So that's partially on Harry. And then, good on Baker for getting there and then finishing the play so he was able to dislodge it. The ball came out, it rolled into the end zone, and then went out of bounds, which makes it a touchback, and then it gives the ball to us. So we lucked out and we got the fumble there, which was great. Like I said, it was lucky and not something that we can count on, but it was good. So it helped us kind of stay in the game a little bit there at the moment and gave us the ball back. Now, just real quick, obviously had the ball gone out of bounds prior to going into the end zone, they would have kept the ball and they actually would have been spotted where it went out of bounds. Anyway, so we get the ball back. We ended up running the third quarter out after about 3 plays, a 14-yard catch to Grant, 5-yard catch to Ford, and a 3-yard catch to Gesicki. And then after we come back into the fourth quarter, we go another 10 plays before scoring a touchdown. But on this drive, I'm going to keep it real. We were honestly, again, pretty lucky in the sense that there were some penalties that I think personally, and I think it's pretty clear when you watch the replay, that had they been called differently, there's a good chance that we would not have scored. But anyway, so we come back. First, it's a Gaskin run that gets no yards. And then the very next play was... So, real quick, we come back into the fourth quarter, right? So, when we got the ball on this drive, it was a 14-yard catch to Grant on first down, okay? Fresh set of downs, 5-yard catch to Ford, 2nd and 5, 3-yard catch to Gesicki. So now it's 3rd and 2, right? So 3rd and 2 because we got 8 yards over the first 2 plays. So now it's 3rd and 2. We come back into the fourth quarter, and on 3rd and 2, Myles Gaskin does not get any yardage, right? So now it's 4th and 2. But, we're down by 2 scores at this point. I think it was like 10 points or something like that, whatever. Anyway, we're down, because I think it was 21-11 at that point. Anyway, we're down by 2 scores. It's late in the game, obviously in the fourth quarter. So and you're only 2 yards out. So going for it totally makes sense. And in fact, the play that they called makes sense, right? Actually, go for a deep shot. If you get it, great. Or maybe you can draw the penalty. Well, here's the problem, right? So it was an incomplete pass, and Williams did draw the penalty on Gilmore. It was a pass interference. Obviously, spot foul. We get the ball, fresh set of downs. Awesome, I'll take it, but I got to keep it real, right? Because when you look at the replay, really about all it amounted to was some hand fighting between the two of them. So, I mean, just on that, if you're going to call one of them for it, you should call the other. Frankly, I think that's football and you should just let them fucking play. But then when you look at the replay, it actually gets a little bit worse for Williams. Now, generally speaking, when there's that hand fighting, if they're not going to just let it be football, and if they are going to call it, they do generally call it on the defensive back. There is a bit of, bias there. It's kind of implicit within the rules, so that kind of sucks. But anyway, in this case, when you look at the replay, Williams actually did push off of Gilmore, which Gilmore was trying to explain that to them. And you could see it because Williams, you could see his arm extending, right? And additionally, he got a little bit of a grab on Gilmore's face mask as well. So, when you look at that, in my opinion, they should have called it on both offsetting penalties, which would have made it 4th and 2 again, right? So they would have had to replay the down, which would have made it 4th and 2 again. And, if you're keeping it real, with this Dolphins team, it's probably, at least at this point, a little bit more likely that we would not get it, right? I mean, technically they were unsuccessful on that the first 4th and 2 play that they ran. They just got lucky because of the penalty. Anyway, I think you get the point. I think it should have been offsetting penalties, but I'll take it. We lucked out there, and so we're good. And then it was a play to Gesicki. I messed up here in my notes, so I don't know how many yards he got, but it was a catch to Gesicki, then a 5-yard breeder run, 4-yard breeder run, 9 of total, then a 2-yard Fitzpatrick scramble, and then on the very next play, it was a pass to Gesicki in the end zone, and this is where on the same drive there were 2 pass interference plays. This one was the second one. This one was on Brooks, the defender, in the end zone, so they ended up spotting it at the 1 and gave us a fresh set of downs. But this one was super ticky-tack as well, and I don't think they should have called it, because when you look at the replay in this one, no matter what, the defender was going to make contact with the receiver, right? Because of his momentum. And just trying to guard him, right? Like, you want to get tight coverage, you're going to make some sort of contact. Now, when you look at the replay, he put his hands in front of him, but he didn't extend, right? So he didn't push off of Mike Gesicki. He didn't push Mike Gesicki at all. He didn't grab him. He didn't wrap him up. He didn't hold him. He didn't prevent him from, completing the route or going to make the catch. None of that stuff. Right? There was a little bit of hand fighting, but that was it. And then clean and clear. I thought it was super ticky-tack, whatever. And to be fair, this penalty actually didn't even really matter because it netted us a couple yards or something like that, whatever. So it just is what it is. But I thought it was pretty ticky-tack too. We got a little help on that drive, but I'll take it. And, we ended up getting the touchdown. Anyway, but then so we're on the goal line. It was a 1-yard loss on a run to Howard, then a 1-yard gain, then a 1-yard touchdown run. Fitzpatrick ended up running in the 2-point conversion himself. On the next drive, the Patriots scored a touchdown. So I guess, no, it was at that time, it was probably 14-3. That's, it was 14-3. Then we made it 14-11 after that touchdown and 2-point conversion. Anyway, then the Patriots get the ball. They score a touchdown after 10 plays, a 23-yard catch to Edelman, and then Baker got a 15-yard late hit penalty. This is another reason why I had to stop watching Doug's video, because he just doesn't live in the same reality, because he was saying that it wasn't a late hit and that Jerome Baker, hit him in the field of play. And what was he supposed to do? If he let up, then, he could have, gone on to score a touchdown. Maybe, but when you look at it, first and foremost, it was pretty clear that the receiver, Edelman, was going out of bounds. He was going in that direction. All of his momentum was going in that way, et cetera, et cetera. And Jerome Baker wasn't the only defender. There was another couple guys. So they easily could have just walked him out of bounds. He didn't actually have to tackle it. Excuse me. Aside from that, though, it was pretty clear that he already stepped out of bounds before Baker even made contact. So it was a legit penalty. I mean, to complain about it is ridiculous because it was as clear as day. Anyway, it just is what it is. Let's see. And then it was an incomplete pass to Edelman, followed by a 7-yard White run, 4-yard Burkhead run, 12-yard Newton run, 5-yard Michelle run, a Newton run of no gain, a 5-yard Newton run. That it was 6 yards, actually. They called it a first down, but then they took it back because Miami challenged the ball. So good on Flores there for using a challenge appropriately. It's the first one of the year and he used it right. Whereas last year, I think part of the evidence that they were actually trying to lose games was their use of challenges and timeouts, etc. So that's a difference already of this season. So I don't think you'd be able to make the claim that they're tanking again. Anyway, but so good on him. They won that, and they ended up moving the ball back, and then they had to run another play. It didn't matter because then Newton got the first down pretty easy by running the ball 4 yards himself after that, and then Baker got another penalty, an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. Again, super clear. As he was getting off the pile, he shoved Newton's face. So, I mean, like, anybody can get mad and about it if they want, but it's just clear as day, and he can't do that. Now, effectually, it didn't do anything because they were already, basically at the 1 yard line at that point. So it didn't really move the ball, but it did give them a fresh set of downs. Anyway, and then it was a 1 yard Michel touchdown run followed by the extra point from Folk. And then the Dolphins get the ball back. So now it's 21-11. The clock is winding down in the fourth quarter. There's only a couple minutes left, and they're going to try and move the ball downfield. But Fitzpatrick comes to play, and after 12 plays, he throws another interception. The drive starts with an 8-yard catch to Ford, a 4-yard catch to Grant, a 1-yard run by Fitzpatrick, and then Fitzpatrick got sacked 9 yards by Derek Rivers. On the following play, it was an incomplete pass to Williams again, but Gilmore gets the second pass interference that he got of the night. And again, I thought this was completely ridiculous. Doug tried to defend it in the same way that the commentary did. Like, I think it was Romo that was like, well, when you kick the guy to the ground and so on and so forth, that's not at all what happened. When you look at the replay, Gilmore didn't kick Preston Williams to the ground. What happened is Preston Williams was coming out of his break. Gilmore's a really good cornerback, and the commentary even mentioned this several times over the course of the night, how, or the game, whatever, afternoon, that, Gilmore was basically running the route for the receiver. He's really good. He's a really good cornerback. So he went to make a break on the ball. Preston Williams was in his way. So as he was coming around him to avoid a penalty, he goes around him, and as he did so, he tripped himself up, fell to the ground, fell in front of Preston Williams, right? So here's Preston Williams, here's Gilmore. Gilmore's coming out of it, Williams is coming out of his break to get the ball. Gilmore's making a break on it. He comes around him to avoid the penalty, or, tried to avoid a penalty. He trips, falls. Preston Williams trips over him and falls as well, and then still almost made the catch. He didn't grab him. He didn't hold him. He didn't restrict him any kind of way. It was just football, but he got a flag on that one too. So, I think overall when it came to the penalties and stuff, if you want to say that there were bad calls, there definitely were, but it helped us out more, certainly far more than it did the Patriots in this game. Anyway, but it is what it is. So we get that penalty. On the next play, it's an incomplete pass to Ford. Then Fitzpatrick scrambles for 12 yards, a 5-yard Gaskin run, 21-yard Williams catch after that. Then the 2-minute warning, an incomplete pass to Williams after that, a 4-yard Fitzpatrick run. And then 3rd and 6 at the New England 10-yard line with 1:36 left to go in the fourth quarter. Fitzpatrick throws an interception to J.C. Jackson, trying to throw the ball to Mike Gesicki, but he threw it into double coverage, and it wasn't good. Obviously, they got the interception, and then that's basically the game, because then the Patriots ran the clock out in 3 plays after that, and so it is what it was. Obviously, additionally, Devontae Parker left the game sometime in the first half with that hamstring injury, so we're going to have to keep an eye on that, and that's concerning. But yeah, so anyway, that was a lot. It was a super lot, and I didn't quite get to keep my video as short as I was hoping, but I'll work on that. It was a lot of stuff to talk about, and look, next week is going to be really tough. I will be making a preview video for the Bills game, so make sure you check that out as well. We should have actual league standings to talk about after the first week, so look out for that information as well. Anyway, with that, I'm gonna get out of here. I hope you guys appreciate my videos and perspective. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section, and of course, as always, make sure you follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up. Peace.